What is up, Flick fans, and welcome back to my channel. I just saw Solo, a Star Wars solo story. Solo. And I'm sorry I'm getting this review up so late. I've been at the hospital all day visiting my aunt. She was in a major car wreck, so please keep her in your thoughts. But right now, we need to focus on the positives. So let's talk movies. Let's talk Solo, the brand new Star Wars movie, and it just hit theaters. If you guys don't know how my reviews work, I like to talk about the good, the bad, and then give you my score Saturday, or maybe tomorrow. I will be releasing my rankings of all of the Star Wars films from my least favorite to most favorite. Be on the lookout for that, but right now we are talking this movie. Let's get into the good. And I'm just in one of those moods, so let's just talk about this dumb little boycott that's going on online. I've seen people for it, I've seen people against it. I will just say this, if you're a Star Wars fan, why would you go into a movie, first of all, wanting it to be bad, wanting to hate it? I'll never, ever understand that mindset. And second of all, if you are a Star Wars fan, why in the world would you boycott any Star Wars film? It should be your goal and your mindset to go in, first of all, support these movies because we are fans of Star Wars, we are fans of the property, we need to support it, and then after we watch the film, we make a decision, but we do not make a decision before we watch the movie. Don't ever tell me a movie sucks before you see it, because frankly, that doesn't make any sense, and it's stupid to think that way. And if you do think that way, I feel really sorry for you. You can dislike what I just said all you want. Doesn't change my opinion. Now let's get into the movie. So Solo, a Star Wars movie, is directed by a lot of different directors, and it's hard to think about this film without just having that lingering in the back of your mind. What would this have looked like if they had one concurrent director from beginning to end? And I feel like it would have turned out a lot better. Not that this movie is bad, and not that this movie is great. It's like somewhere in the middle, but I'm more on the positive side. I actually ended up having more fun than I thought I was going to have because I've been reading some of the reviews. Some people absolutely despise this film, and I completely understand that because there have been points that have been made, and I'm like, okay, I get why you don't like it. I actually ended up kind of enjoying myself. I'll say this, Alden started out a little rocky for me. I'm like, I don't know if this is just bad dialogue, if it's the writing, or if it's just the way that he's portraying this character, but the more the movie progressed, now the movie itself started off kind of strong and then went down, but Han's performance, I believe, got better and better as the film went on. And by the end of the movie, you're like, wow, I actually ended up enjoying his performance. He was similar to Harrison Ford in his mannerisms and the way that he smiled and just some of his facial expressions, but he was different to a point that it wasn't an impression, and that's what I was kind of worried about. I'm like, I do not want a Harrison Ford impression. I want him to be his own character. He wasn't the problem with this movie. I don't have to say anything about Lando because you know he's going to be good. He wasn't like overwhelmingly, oh my god, I need a Lando Solo film, because that's what I've been hearing. For me, it's like, yeah, he did a really good job. What more do you want from Donald Glover? Overall, the supporting cast I think was okay. Nobody really stood out. I feel like Paul Bettany could have stood out if they would have given him more to do, but they just don't give him a lot to do. In my opinion, the real star here is the chemistry between Chewbacca and Han. My goodness, Chewbacca comes in, he has some awesome action scenes, pretty much the only action scenes in the entire movie. He does some things, Han does some stuff, they do some stuff together. I'm saying do some stuff a lot, but that's what they do because it's Han and Chewie. I don't know what I'm doing, but overall, I really enjoyed those two together, and every time they were on screen, I'm like, yes, I buy this chemistry, and I buy what's happening. And there were some great Star Wars things. There's one moment in particular that I think Star Wars fans are going to absolutely love, and it might cause some people to love this movie more than I believe people think going in. And something that I don't see a lot of people talking about, the background characters, the creatures, the designs, the animatronics, there's a lot of that in here. We saw it in The Force Awakens, all of these new characters coming to life without the use of CGI, and I love how this movie doesn't really use CGI to bring these characters alive, unless you're talking about, of course, one or two, but overall, these background characters in Solo, a Star Wars story, are some of the best I have ever seen. And that's something I really started to pay attention to throughout the movie. It's like, these costumes are great, the way that these characters look are great. It's like there's so much attention to detail. Why couldn't you take that attention to detail and just put it more towards the script? And I'm not bashing Lawrence Kasdan because he's one of my favorite writers ever. He's written some of my favorite movies of all time, but it just felt like a Star Wars fan fiction written by someone who is not a fan, written by someone who is an incredibly talented writer. And that brings me to my negatives. The story here just progressively gets worse and worse. It starts off pretty strong. I loved the first act. There are some great chase scenes, but it's just like every time they're on a scene, it feels like they stay on that specific scene too long, whether it's dialogue between two characters or things that are happening in terms of action. And at points, I'm just sitting there like, okay, where is this going? I kind of know where it's going, but I don't really know why we're staying on this one part this long. And another thing that I didn't like, and it's going to come with a movie like this, is you kind of know what's going to happen. You know, this character's going to go in this direction, he's going to do this with this ship, and it sucked me out of the movie because I'm sitting there thinking, well, I know this, and this is going to happen. I know this character is going to do this and make this decision, and it all fell, not flat, but it all just felt a little bit too predictable. And I know, Austin, you can't judge that because you knew this was all coming. Yeah, I understand that, but if you would have made it more interesting, then maybe I would be a bit more on board with it. When those great Star Wars moments would come, I would be like, yes, this is cool, let's stay on this. Why are you going away from that? I want to focus more on this moment, but you're giving me this moment. It's like you could just I just felt two different directors. Ron Howard comes in, and I think he fixes things up and gives us at least a cohesive movie. But even he, I believe, made some decisions where I'm just like, I don't think that worked necessarily. Oh, and this movie is very dark. Not thematically, I mean visually, it's dark. The color correction is very there's not a lot of, and I'm not saying I want really bright colors, but it's just very dim. Lots of grays and blacks, and it may be the theater that I was in, but I've heard this complaint from other people, and I'm just like, I wish there was a bit more color, honestly. And there was one part of the score that I really liked. Every time it would kick in, it's when these Ravengers would come on the screen, and I'm like, okay, I really like that. I like these echoes in the chorus in the background, but that's really the only memorable part of this score, and it's Star Wars. You're supposed to have this score. It's supposed to be its own character and bring you into certain parts of the movie, but it just really didn't, other than this one section that I really liked. And honestly, guys, I just can't say any more than that because I don't want to go into details. I'm just going to tell you this. It's a fun time in the theater if you just kind of turn your brain off and watch it for the Star Wars moments and seeing Han Solo and Chewbacca on screen again. I do think the performances are good. I just don't think the story and the script and where it went and where it ended up was really the best thing ever. I don't think we needed this film, but I'm kind of glad that we got it because I believe from here they could maybe go in other directions with this character and with this cast that would make for a better film, but we just have to wait and see how it's perceived and received by many audiences and critics because you know, if people don't like it, Lucasfilm is not going to make another one of these. And I'm not saying they have to make another one, but I do believe if they get their crap together and they keep this cast around, then they could make another movie. I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me, but this goes in a direction at the end of this film that I think sets up something that people have been wanting to see for a long time, and I'm just going to leave it there. I'm going to give Solo: A Star Wars Story a 68%, a lot lower than what I wanted to give it, but a 68% is still a fresh score, and I do recommend going to the theater to see it for the moments, and I do think there are going to be a lot of people that like this movie, and I like the movie. 68% is a decent score. It's not going to end up in my least favorite movies of the year. I do think it's a good film. That's just all it is to me. It's not a spectacular Star Wars movie. Not that it has to be. I just think it could have been better. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Be sure to stick around on my channel because I will be ranking the Star Wars films. I did enjoy this movie, guys. Those of you guys who hated it, that's fine. If you loved it, that's fine. We should all be friends and love each other. You guys are the absolute best, and I will catch you later.